Okay. All right. What's up, fancy hairdressers? We're gonna use the new fancy razor today, and we're gonna give some tips on how to use it. Starting off with regular razor dexterity and how to use it. You know, this is a folding razor, so it opens up like this. So what we're gonna do is open this up all the way to like a T shape, like that. You're gonna make a peace sign, and you're gonna put that in between your fingers like that. It's gonna go all the way up against your hand like that. And then you're gonna close your thumb and pointer finger together so that you can grip it to move it like this. We're gonna try and move it just in our fingers as often as possible. So we're not gonna go like this, and we're not gonna go like this. We're just gonna work like this. And then when we're combing, we're gonna lock it up with our pointer finger. So you're literally gonna close your pointer finger around it so these fingers are all free. And that way you can hold your comb with these two fingers. So that when you're combing, see how far away the razor is? Like it's pretty far away from the head. Some people will go like this, and then all of a sudden the razor is very close to the head. And you might cut their hair. So we want to avoid doing that. So when we're using the razor, when we're going to show you a few different things to think about. And I'm not going to be able to show you everything because I only have 20 minutes or something, and I could teach for a million years about this. These are all just things that I learned from watching different people use the razor. So let's say that we're going to work the razor from the center to the left. What we're going to do is we're going to use the bottom half of this razor. So from here to the bottom, sometimes known as the middle to the bottom, known as the middle to the heel. Some people will say the heel, but it's not a foot, so I just say the bottom. And so here's how that'll go. So when we do that, working from the center back, there we go. Sorry everybody, we had poor connection there. But okay, so just a thought. When you're using the blade from the center to your left, we're using the bottom bit of the blade. Because if we use the top part of the blade, look how much more of the blade is close to the client. So we want to be up here so that we can make our line using less of the blade and keeping as much of the blade away from the client as possible. So you see this line in my fingers right now? You see that it's kind of strong, right? We don't have a lot of softness. That's because we use a short stroke of the razor. If we use a long stroke of the razor, if we were to move the razor more, we'll get a lot more softness in there. Short stroke will give you strength, a long stroke gives you softness. So if we're working from the center to the right, we're gonna do just the opposite. So we're gonna use the top part of the blade now. So we come down, I'm gonna lift my elbow up.
Go around.
Yeah. So if we look back up a little bit just so they can see my elbow for a second. So here it's like, when we do this, we're lifting our elbow up like this so that we can come in here. Now we can come close again to use the top half of the blade like that. So when we use the top half of the blade, again, we're using less of the blade and we're keeping more of the blade away from our client. Right? So this way, bottom half. This way, top half. Now there's a bunch of different things we can use. So those were short strokes. You might hear them referred to as a closed stroke sometimes. If we're going to use a long stroke or an open stroke, and you can do this as you know, gradually like longer or immediately longer as you want. Like if we use a longer stroke, let's say we move the razor a little more like this, you can see when we connect, our line's going to stop all in the same place here, but because we've moved the razor a lot more, we get all this softness in our fingers. So that's going to be two different ways that we can use the razor, with a long stroke or a short stroke, and everything in between. You could also use the edge of the razor, meaning like we use the less of the blade like this for a stronger line, or we can lay the blade flat against the hair like this for a softer line, right? Because you're using more of the blade, gives you a little bit more softness there. You can use the edge, you can use the whole thing. You can even use 3/4 of the blade to create a line, but it will just be a very soft line as you create it, right? So you have a lot of different things that you can do with this tool. You can also point cut with the razor. So let's do some of that. We're gonna point cut. Let's use this side so you can see it easier. You can take big sections out, meaning we can like place the razor deeper in the section, move it back and forth in one area to remove some big corners. So we get these like big pieces of weight that will come out, creating a lot more negative space and movement. Or we can do little short pieces where we kind of just skim across the whole top. So watch this. We're not going to go as deep, and we're working across the top of the section to diffuse the entire section in more of a balanced way. So we get all that little bit of weight that comes out, but not big, bold pockets of weight that come out. The razor is often referred to, like people get nervous about a razor, right? They think like, oh, the razor is going to make my hair damaged. But in reality, the razor can be a really accurate tool that can be used on almost any texture. I'll use it on straight hair, I'll use it on curly hair, I'll use it on coarse and fine hair. So you just have to think about what you're doing and adjust for different textures. Other things that you can do to make sure that your clients don't feel like their hair was damaged by a razor. We use a new razor every single haircut that we do. All right, let's come over to this side. We're gonna use a new razor every single haircut. We're gonna make sure the hair is sufficiently damp. If it starts to dry out, it's gonna make the hair feel more damaged. And we have to watch our pressure and angle. So all those little angles we talked about, we can use those, but remember that the weight of the razor is all the pressure that you need. You don't actually need you don't have to push. Like literally we're just letting the razor sit. We're not pushing with the razor. I'm just gonna touch the section and then I move it back and forth and it will cut. It's super sharp. You really don't need to push it at all to get some softness there. So like, let's look at these sections as we tip through. Right now, this looks very solid and heavy. When we come in, we're gonna move the razor back and forth through that section like this, and then we'll comb it again and take a look, and we'll see it starts to have more negative space. You can see through it a little bit better. So let's just tip through this entire cut, just for fun. So let's say we cut a bob. This is a 1-length bob on here, and we just wanna soften the bob. So we're just taking these diagonal forward sections. I'm gonna bring it back like this. I'm lifting this up a little bit. We don't wanna lift too high, but just a nice 45-degree angle. I can see that it's kind of soft here already, and then it's heavy over here. So now we're gonna tip through the heavy area to remove that weight, comb it out, and then we're looking for our balance. Okay, we're still maybe a little bit heavy in here. We'll come through and just work that weight out until we start to see the balance of weight, the distribution of weight is even. Ah, good. Now we can see through that whole section really nice and even. If you guys have any questions, ask them, and Kristen will repeat them if they're not crazy. And we're just gonna tip through this whole thing. We've got badges turned on there for free money for us. If you wanna give us free money, that's sweet of you. But really, we'll end up using it to buy doll heads, to do more of these lives, so we can give away more education. But if we use a doll, there is a cost. Some of these dolls are $100 a piece, so feel free to donate so we can buy more dolls and give away more education. So again, we can tip through in a soft way, or if we wanted bolder weight removal, we can come in a little bit deeper and knock out those corners.
We got someone wanting to know the best way to hold the razor again, and then someone asking if we're using just the tip.
Who said that? TJ?
Robert Machine, and then Lex Woods.
Oh, okay. I would say...
Are you not afraid that it will get a little frizzy?
No, I don't think I'm afraid of getting frizzy. You know, let's say that this was really curly texture. Like for instance, if we were doing this on this client's texture over here, it's kind of hard, you can't see it too far away.
Are you gonna go film it?
No, not too close. Because we didn't get her permission to be on the live. But if the hair is really curly, then I don't want to make really, really, really airy, soft feelings like this, because it might get a little bit frizzier. If the hair is more curly, I might do more defined weight removal like this, so that the curl will come together in more of a collective way and not get frizzy. But when you're using the razor, I think it's a misconception that it's going to make the hair damaged and frizzy. It's just all about how you're using the razor. And remember, the way I like to use it is we're going to have it between our two fingers like that, like these two fingers kind of grip the razor. And then when you want to cut, you bring your pointer and thumb together so that we're working like this. And then when we want to comb, we lock it up and we hold our comb with these fingers right here. So that's like, in my opinion, the best way to use it. And that way we can just use our fingers instead of like our wrist, and we're not going like this. And that way we control the pressure of the razor as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'll move out of your way. We're gonna back up.
Someone said, do we have online classes for men's cuts?
We do. If you click the link in my bio and you go to fancyhairdressers.com, then you'll see that we do have a few men's haircuts on there by Ben that works here. And you can see what that does. This is actually Dylan. I think it's Dylan's doll, Dylan's color on here. And you see what this does. We've tipped through this area, and now it's starting to tuck in a little bit more. It's a little bit softer.
Someone else said, what's your best advice for return clients? I've heard you shouldn't do a razor cut every time or it'll thin out too much.
Well, I think it's just all about how you're using the razor. You know, a lot of hairdressers, a lot of cutters only use a razor, or like majority of the time use a razor. But that can be a thought, you know. Let's say that you took a lot of weight out the last time they came in. You could do it with scissors the next time and take less out, or you could just shorten your stroke. Like if you took weight out all the way up to here, and now their hair's grown, you could just do a shorter stroke when they come back in to remove weight where you need to. So remember, there's no right or wrong answer. There's no absolutes in cutting hair. It's just about what are you thinking, what are you trying to do. So if you're like, ooh, I took a lot out last time, I don't feel I need to take out as much, don't take out as much. But you could still totally use the razor because you are in control of the razor. The razor is not in control of you. And
sorry.
Go ahead. So if you feel like it is, then what you need to do is you need to take one of our you have to take one of our classes and learn how to use the razor.
Someone said, aren't you afraid of losing your guide?
Well, it is definitely a little more difficult to see your guide with the razor because here's why. For instance, what you have to do with the razor is you have to let go of your guide, right? So like let's take a piece here a little shorter so we can use it as a guide. So we're going to lower this section down. And then if we take our next one, like our guide would be right here in my fingers. But in order to cut in the same place with the razor, I have to cut up here. So I have to slide past it, and then I can see where that density changes. Get a little close to that for me. So you can see right here, like the density shifts right there. That's my guide, and that's how I know where to cut because I can see through the section. I can see that the density has changed there. So you definitely want to learn how to be aware of where your guide is with the razor because it's going to be more difficult that way. And the guide is soft. With the scissor, your guide is strong. With the razor, your guide is soft, so it can be harder to find, but I'm not afraid of it because I've practiced with it. And that's what I want you to do. I want you to get a razor, start off with a guard on the razor, and practice and practice and practice until it feels really second nature to you. So here's our last section here on the side. Again, we could even tip through the whole thing to create a more diffuse, soft feeling. And then we could even come in and remove some bolder sections of weight to define a few areas if we want. It's all up to you. I mean, it's a very versatile tool. You can do all sorts of different stuff. But look at that bevel that it will give you, how that curves in now on the side. And here's the side that we haven't done, where we're a little bit like clunkier. It doesn't want to like blend in quite as easy. This side, you know, you see how that kind of has a different kind of movement to it. All right, so we've got clients coming in. I've got a roll, but if you guys want to try this razor, you can see what it says right here.
Fancy.
Fancy. So go to Fancy Scissors or go to fancyscissors.com. You can try out a razor on there. Start with a guard. Be careful. And yeah, we'll see you back for more free education. And I'll put this on my videos so you guys can go back and rewatch it if you want to see more razor dexterity and just revisit it whenever you have questions. Shoot me a message. I respond to everything as long as it's not crazy. And yeah, we'll talk more later.
So I just mash the X?
Mm-hmm.